I'm home safe from COP16. On the last day, I tried to stay up to find out what was happening, but by 10 p.m. Friday, I was done. Delegates also tried their best, but after 24 hours straight, COP President Susanna Mohammed shut it down at 8:30 a.m. Saturday morning. There were no longer enough people to pass anything as delegates left for flights home. It was definitely a conference of highs and lows. It's easy to feel disappointed that COP16 was suspended without a strategy, scale up finance without targets to add biodiversity to the financial planning of governments, the financial sector, and businesses. We also fell short of what was needed to halt biodiversity loss. I heard Brazil getting super mad about how the finance was tackled at the end, and I agree. It should have been the first thing on the table. One of COP16's top priorities was to implement a strategy for raising $200 billion a year by 2030, including $20 billion to be given by richer countries to developing countries by 2025 to fund nature protection. That's in 60 days. That was a big no, with the fund currently totaling $407 million. 44 revised national biodiversity strategies and action plans were submitted, and 119 parties have submitted revised national targets. So we are now at 63% of countries. Still, lots of countries need to submit their homework. Talks around identifying and repurposing subsidies harmful to nature made little progress. Plans for monitoring progress in 2026 and 2030 to hold countries accountable for implementing their targets could not be finished before COP was suspended. The meeting also ran out of time to approve the Convention on Biological Diversity budget for the next 2 years. But lots of good things happened, and this is not the end. Countries will need to continue the talks next year at a special meeting in Bangkok, and they will have a lot of work to do there. You know when kids are in a class and only a few submitted the homework they were supposed to, and they all complained that they didn't have enough time to finish their classwork? And some of them are fighting, so now the teacher has given them extra time? Yeah, like that. Here's some of the good stuff. Number 1, we now have a Cali fund, which will move towards private finance for nature by sharing the benefits created through commercial use of digital sequence information, or DSI, of genetic resources. It's optional right now, but at least it's a start. Companies using DSI from genetic biodiversity resources in their products will be encouraged to pay 0.1% of their profits or revenues into the funds. How the money is being given out is still being decided, but it has been agreed that 50% of the fund will be allocated to indigenous peoples and local communities. This will enable the people who need it to finally share in the profits. Number 2, there is an agreement on the process for identifying potential marine protected areas. Number 3, and an agreement to include indigenous peoples and local communities in the future biodiversity talks. Number 4, and an agreement to recognize the importance of the role of people in Africa in the protection of nature. Number 5, a new mainstreaming champions group launched with the support of 18 countries, which will hopefully ensure biodiversity planning is included in new projects, developments, and agriculture. Number 6, there is an adoption of an action plan on biodiversity and health. Number 7, they also did a great job involving the community in the green zone. Maybe if this was happening more around the world, we could be more supportive for protecting biodiversity in the first place, because everyone would know what a crisis this is. Let me know if I missed any good news in the comments below. Here's what the experts had to say. Linda Kruger, the Nature Conservancy's head of delegation and global director of biodiversity and infrastructure policy, said the irreversible effects of biodiversity loss will not pause while parties figure out a process for approving the budget. Urgent action to finalize these negotiations must be the priority of all parties. Brian O'Donnell, director of the Campaign for Nature, said too many countries and UN officials came to Cali without the urgency and level of ambition needed. The world doesn't have time for business as usual. The suspension of the COP without any agreed upon finance strategy is alarming. Christian Schuger, Director General WWF International, said Delivering the mission to halt and reverse nature loss by 2030 was never going to be easy, but we're now veering dangerously off track. I know this sounds super complicated. Bottom line, despite their efforts, governments and UN officials are trying to put out a huge fire with one of those cheap water guns from the dollar store that doesn't work very well. They are letting us kids down, and for the next 2 years, we are going to keep having to take conservation into our own hands. Let's get to work. We still have a planet to save.
Did he take your mitten?
Yeah. Brayden, come here. Sit. Listen. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Thank you.